I'm Tracy Baxter with today's Record Newswatch. The high winds Saturday took a serious toll on parts of our region as hundreds lost power. Wind gusts ripped off tree branches that brought down wires. One couple survived a very close call in the city of Middletown Saturday night as the wind brought down a huge branch from a tree along Highland Avenue near J Street. It smashed on top of their car that was being driven down Highland. And while the vehicle was demolished, the couple got out safely and were only shaken up. Middletown Fire Chief Kevin Duggan said they were extremely lucky.
The tree is large enough that if it hit on the passenger compartment, they would have been seriously injured. The tree looks like it was rotted in the center of it, and the high winds just took it over.
The incident also resulted in telephone and cable TV outages in that part of Middletown. All of those who lost electricity because of high wind damage over the weekend were expected to be back online by this afternoon. We woke up to several inches of new snow this morning, but it didn't have much impact because of the President's Day closings of schools, businesses, and government offices. And our snowfall paled in comparison to what fell in other parts of upstate New York and the Midwest. They got significantly higher amounts of snow accumulation from this latest storm system. We'll tell you about our encouraging local forecast in a minute. Elsewhere, funeral services will be held Thursday in the Putnam County community of Carmel for John Falcone, the Poughkeepsie City police officer who was shot and killed after handing off a baby he grabbed from a gunman during a domestic dispute near the Poughkeepsie train station on Friday. The gunman, Lee Welch of Catskill, shot and killed his estranged wife, Jessica, before fatally shooting Officer Falcone. Welch then turned the gun on himself. The fatal shooting was the first Poughkeepsie police officer line-of-duty death since 1969. A death certificate released in the state of Pennsylvania reportedly indicates that Laura Garza died of traumatic asphyxiation or strangulation. Garza's body was found last spring near Scranton, Pennsylvania. Meantime, back in Orange County, accused murderer Michael Mealy is due back in court March 7th for hearings involving the charges he faces that accuse him of killing Garza back in December of 2008. A New Windsor man is facing criminal charges for holding his estranged wife against her will last Friday, following what had been described by eyewitnesses as a kidnapping and abduction. 47-year-old William Brandel turned himself in to police Sunday night. Investigators say he'd forced his estranged wife into his car and drove around Orange County, repeatedly preventing her from escaping. She was eventually dropped off hours later in Newburgh. Brandel was charged with felony coercion as well as unlawful imprisonment. Middletown City Police say they've solved a pair of recent taxi cab robberies with the arrest of 3 suspects, 17-year-old Matthew Zuniga and 18-year-old Paul Ayala of Middletown, along with a 16-year-old from Newburgh, were each charged with 2 counts of first-degree robbery. And police say the 2 robbed drivers from Robbins Taxi and Syndicate Taxi at locations on Beacon Street. In both robberies, the drivers were threatened with a knife. And more than 200 lovers of the sport of ice fishing could be found on White Lake Sunday, and they were there to test their ice fishing skills in the annual King of the Ice contest, sponsored by the Sullivan County Conservation Club. Mark Williams of Walden and son Parker were among those who had some early morning luck.
We got 2. We got the first fish of the day, and about an hour later, so it was a little slow for the last hour, but we got 2 fish on the board.
What's the trick to this?
Patience. Lots of patience.
And lots of layers of clothes?
Yeah, that too.
The largest fish, a pickerel, was pulled up by Joe Milk of Roscoe, earning him the crown as King of the Ice 2011. And with the frigid winds blowing, Joe no doubt welcomed the additional layer of clothing his king's robe provided. There's some better weather ahead after this morning's snowfall. Tomorrow will be partly sunny, but cold, with temperatures staying in the 20s. More sunshine and not as cold on Wednesday, with the highs climbing to the mid and upper 30s. Keep tabs on all that's going on by making frequent visits here at Record Online, and get a complete wrap-up of the day's events when you pick up a copy of tomorrow's Times-Herald Record. For Record Newswatch, I'm Tracy Baxter.